Welcome everyone. This is a new series that we're doing called Epic Love Lounge. Do you want to share about the promise and
Yeah, so
what we
this
call the promise?
yeah, the promise behind this is basically just pulling back the curtains, letting you see what real love looks like, what real talk around that looks like, and creating opportunities for us to share things that work in relationships, and also to inspire you, the hope that you have for the relationship that you've been daydreaming about. It is there, it's out there, it's available to you, and it's usually just a few small tweaks away. Uh, we call it aligning your intention with your soul and removing energetic blocks. We're not going to get too much into that today, but we are going to spend time just showing you what real conversations look like. Mayan and I have some incredible conversations uh, really throughout the day, or if we watch like a Love is Blind show or something like that. There's always stuff that comes up that it's like, man, our audience needs to hear these conversations. So that's really the intent, is to just allow you guys to see some of the conversations that we have and some of the things that really create uh, relationships that work.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's great to see some familiar faces. And also, we're recognizing there are new faces who might not actually know who we are.
Yeah.
So, I'm Mayan.
I'm Angus.
Yep, and we are lifelong love coaches, but we're also a couple. We also work together, run this business together, and we've also been through some things in our past. So we've been through,
Relationship that didn't work.
yes, divorces, and which for me has been a driving force for why this is such important work to support other people to find love after divorce, after heartbreak, after, failed attempts, and to know that it is possible, even if you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? And so we bring a lot of science based trainings and neuroscience based teachings. And, that's for me, one of the pillars for a great relationship is knowing yourself well, knowing who you are, what's important to you, and then doing also release work around that so that what's important to you is not driven by baggage, but is a pure intention rather than running away from something, and which we'll go into today on today's topic. But yeah, that's a little bit of
I love that.
background.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you shared that. It reminded me, I was on a guest on a podcast this morning, and one of the things that came up is that there are essentially three bodies in each of us. Like, we have ourself, that is where we think that we are most of the time, but underneath that is an unconscious body. Like, it's an unconscious, it's all of your emotions, it's all of your memories, it's everything that's going on, all of your belief systems, values, everything are down there. And then above all of that is the higher self. And so often we forget to even check in with those two because we're just in the middle of what I call life. There's so many things thrown at you and you're just kind of handling it all. But the solutions to all of life's problems and the opportunity for a better future is is hidden within the unconscious, and it's explored from the higher self. And so checking in with those two parts of ourselves, I think, really makes a huge difference. And so and I don't know if we're getting into too much of that today, but that's something that, as you were talking, just reminded me. It's so important to get out of ourselves and figure out what's down below and what's above, what's
Mhm.
calling us to the next level.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I think over the course of these calls, we're probably going to dive deep into all of those different topics, probably one by one. So if you haven't heard us teach or if you haven't heard us talk about these things, you definitely will. And so for today's topic specifically, we wanted to talk about intentions because whether it's love, whether it's something else, right, career or finances or health, when we know that it's important to set intentions or set what it is that we want, and there could be ways that we're doing it where it's actually blocking us from receiving that intention.
Excellent.
And so, what prompted this topic was, and you might have read it in the email, but if you haven't read about the story, was about, I don't know, 6 years ago, I was participating in what was called a Power of Eight intention group. And so this was an experience where a friend of mine had invited us to participate. And it's based on Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of Eight. And she has done some studies on what happens when a group of eight people or more come together and focus entirely on one intention. And so what we did in the group was week by week, each person would take turns sitting in the hot seat and we would share our intention for what we want. Now, I was actually married at the time and I was going through some hard times. We were going through marriage counseling and all of that. And so, what was on my mind when it was my turn to be in the hot seat was that I really wanted to experience, like, I had gained some clarity on the type of love and relationship that I really wanted to experience. And I didn't,
Weren't experiencing it.
right. And I wasn't experiencing it. And I wasn't thinking specifically about, my partner, my husband at the time, but I was just so focused on this is the type of love that I want to experience. And so I share that intention and I had forgotten about it because this was years ago. And then my friend for her birthday wanted to do a reunion of the past Power of Eight groups. And so she coordinated this beautiful call, and I helped her lead it. And that prompted me to go back and look at my intention. So each of these rounds, we would have a spreadsheet. And so I looked back and I looked at what I wrote, and it was amazing reading. I actually read it to you, and I actually teared up because every single word, every line that I wrote is exactly what we are creating and have created in our relationship. And it wasn't like I had forgotten about it. And so when I read it, I was like, "Oh, wow, like this is what I was calling in and it completely happened." And then the craziest thing was that when I looked at the date, because each person was assigned a date. So when I was assigned this date for when I was going to be in the hot seat, the date was Angus's birthday, and I didn't even know him. We hadn't even met before. So just the synchronicity of that happening, I was like, "Oh, wow, like there's something divinely shifting here, creating, that I had no idea that this was how it would um evolve and turn out." And so that was what prompted the conversation, but when I look back at all of the different ladies and their intentions and looking at what they wrote versus did it come true or not, there were some very specific things that popped out for me that was like, "Oh, wow, like this is the pattern for the intentions that actually came true." And there were women who wanted to get pregnant, who hadn't been able to get pregnant for years. And when we did the intention, like one woman now has 2 kids and she was on the call, and it was amazing, and there were illnesses, cancer, being, wanting to be healed without experiencing the symptoms, and that came true, and so the power of intention is a real thing, right? And
Yep.
so I wanted to really share with you guys what I'm seeing is some of the mistakes that people might be doing.
Before we jump into that,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
tag on something there
Yeah.
because it reminds me that what you're talking about with the power of eight. Um, we have our personal beliefs that we don't put on anybody else, but I know that the Bible talks about that Jesus says that wherever two or three or more gathered my name, there I'll be amongst you. And so he's talking about the power of intention. And it's one thing for somebody to like make your own goals and like set a vision, but it's another thing when you actually have people around you in your community to tell your goals to, who you ask to stand for you, either to pray for you, to believe for you, to just be in agreement with you. There's such power in that agreement. And so I think it's huge also to write those things down
Yeah.
because it's so easy to go through life and just be in that moment and not remember that you already have achieved things that you said would make you happy. And if you don't go back and remind yourself that, like, oh, there was a time when I was fighting for this and now I'm in it and I'm not even grateful for it,
Mhm.
that level of gratitude is huge for creating the next level wins. Because if you're not happy right now with what you have and you got it after standing for it for a while, what makes you think you'll be happy with the next thing? And so being aware and intentional about what you're trying to create and what you already have created and standing in that gratitude, I think is huge.
That's huge. I love that you said that because even an example, I remember when I graduated college, it was during the IT bubble. So this was back in 2002 or 2000, yeah, 2002. And I was just graduating college and nobody was hiring at the time. No companies. They actually came to our campus. It was like, sorry, we're here just to tell you that we're not hiring. And I remember being in that space of, oh my gosh, if someone would just give me a job, give me a chance so that I can prove myself, right? And then I did eventually get a job. And then years later, it was like, oh, I need to get out of this career. I need to get out of this job. But forgetting sometimes that that was an answered prayer.
Yeah.
My job was actually an answered prayer. And it is easy to forget once you get there. And so I love that you brought that up because it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You were going to transition into some of the things that you see prevent people from experiencing that.
Yeah. So number one, what you said about writing things down, writing your intentions down, really important, and then going back and revisiting, really important. But as you're writing things down, these are the top three biggest mistakes that I'm seeing with the women that have gone through the Power of Eight. But so number one is not being clear and specific enough. So a lot of people think that they are being intentional, they're being specific when they're actually being pretty vague. So one of the mistakes that I saw was, oh, I want to experience a partnership or I want to experience abundance. I want to experience, yeah, that these are great things. And it's almost like you're going to a restaurant and you're just asking the waiter, like, bring me something great. Actually, when we went to visit your son, um, we were at this restaurant and I think you had asked the waiter, you're like, oh, just surprise me with a drink that you think I would like. And he came over and he brought this drink and it was great. It was amazing, right? And so sometimes you do get lucky, but why leave it to chance, right? So be specific around what it is that you actually want.
If I remember that correctly,
Mhm.
I gave him like two things
Yeah.
that like were were parameters,
Yeah.
like things that I wanted in the drink and then figure it out.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, bring me anything. Cause I've had people bring me stuff and it's like, well, how do you even drink this or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it is important to have those parameters in place so you know that you're aiming at the right thing.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
mentioned abundance earlier, just a few seconds ago, abundance and love. And it reminds me of one of our past clients who that was one of her goals is she wanted to meet somebody who was like financially stable for that partnership. And then she met somebody, got into a relationship with him, and only to realize that yes, he was financially stable, but he was also super stingy.
Mm.
Like he didn't have an abundant mindset,
Yeah.
even though he had the wealth. He was like really tight fisted with stuff. And so it was not the energy that she wanted to be in. Right. So I know we're going to talk more about energy in a minute, but it is incredibly important to really think through what do I want and why do I want it? Like, what would it feel like if I got it?
Yeah. And you, what you're saying right now is really important. So, one of the keys is to tune in to how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel in the relationship of your dreams? What is the experience you want to create for yourself?
Yeah.
Right? Rather than there's a fine line between getting so specific of, oh, he's got to be 6 foot tall. And we talk about this a lot, right? He's got to be a certain height. He's got to have certain job or income bracket or something like that. But go even deeper as to why. Why is that important to you? What would it make you feel like if you had that? If you were with somebody of a specific height, what would that feel like? Oh, I would feel secure, maybe. I would feel right.
Something's coming up for me that's like kind of off topic. So
Okay.
just sit with me on this. But we were talking about this a little bit earlier. And in regard to the subject, so many of the things that are on some of the women's lists that we've talked to have they're basically you could plug anybody into those categories. Like you could put a serial killer in there because he's financially he owns his own house. What like great. So he meets those buckets, but where's the personality? Like who's the person that
Mhm.
has these things? Not just I want somebody with these things. Like who's that person that has those things?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's got to be something deeper than just the tangible things on the list.
Yeah.
It's who is it because that's the person that's going to make you feel away. All those things, like flood can come and take out some of those things, or an illness can come and take out some of those things. But like, who do you want to be in a relationship with? What it's got to go deeper.
Yeah, and another question to ask yourself is, what kind of life do I want to live with create with this person? What's a day-to-day life experience like? Right? Painting that picture so that you're clear on, oh wow, these are the things I want to feel. And I had promised that I would share the intention that I wrote down specifically so that you can see an example of what that looks like. So it's not just kind of airy fairy, this is what we're talking about, but you can actually see the exact wording. And so I'm going to share with you. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah. Can you
There
see
you go.
my screen?
Below that,
I think this comes across full screen. Okay, give me a head nod if you can see this.
the font.
Yeah. Okay. Is this big enough? You can see. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this was the actual intention that I shared with the group and that we focused on, prayed on, meditated on during my hot seat. So I'll read it to you. And it says, I'm experiencing the true love that I'm here to experience this lifetime, and I feel free and encouraged to be the highest expression of myself and my power. My partner and I elevate each other simply by being who we are. I feel not only loved, but also supported and inspired and amplified. My partner and I are continuously growing, both individually and together as a couple. We are students of life for life, and we love sharing our reflections and learnings with each other. We inspire each other to be our best selves. We talk about anything and everything, and there is nothing that we can't go deep on. And we are powerhouses in our own right, pursuing our big dreams around what matters most to us, making a huge difference in the world while being a contribution to each other. It is a true partnership full of love, support, fun, passion, and aliveness. So if we dissect this, you can see how I'm very specific about certain things, right? I'm very specific about the experiences that we're having together. And what's wild is that this is the way that we live, right? We are lifelong learners. We do share our reflections daily of what we're learning, listening, hearing, right? And these are just, I mean, this is everyday life for us. And the fact that this was the vision that I had and I put it out there into the world, for it to be brought back to me, like that's the level of clarity that you get to have around what you want. Does that make sense?
I want to say something that's kind of long term. Like right now, we're talking about what you like brought in and manifested, but I want to talk about the other end.
Okay.
And when we listen to like the Gottmans and what they talk about makes relationships work, the number one thing that makes relationships last is when a couple shares a vision for their future. And I want to acknowledge that you put that vision into the future. It wasn't just that you wanted to be, held at night and like not feel alone or anything. Like you painted a vision for the long term future that is now we found each other and we're in this. But that statement is still painting a picture for our future.
Mm.
It's not like you've attained everything on there
Yeah.
and now we're done.
Mhm.
It's like we've attained everything on there and we're on the track to that future.
Yeah.
That you painted so well.
Yeah.
And that is such a strong, powerful thing for a lifelong relationship.
Mm.
Is can those two people set a vision and intention for their future so they're both aiming at that thing, knowing they're working together on it. And so obviously everybody has a different gift, different talents, different call on their life, different vision, different purpose, mission, whatever your words are on that. But it's going to be important that if you know that that's something that's important to your life, you're probably going to want a partner who, in some way, shape, or form, is supportive of that vision so that you can both be aiming toward that future.
Yeah. It's so good. I just got off a client coaching class right now, right before this call, and that's one of the things we talked about was aim. So aim is, it's like at a high level, no matter how old you are, where are you going? What's the direction that you're heading in? And so I love that you brought that up perfectly because that's exactly like I had created the aim. Okay, no matter what, I'm going to be going this way. I'm going to be growing. I'm going to be making a difference, contributing to the world. And I want my partner to be with me on that journey. Right. And so, um, yeah, I love that you brought that up because that's what we teach. All right. So that's the number one thing is not being clear enough. Right. So having specificity, having details, but in a way that is describing and painting the picture of your aim of where you're going, the vision for the relationship, what you want to experience.
I think
Okay.
you need to stop right there because
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're going to cover this, but there's a little bit of a paradox here because you do need to be specific.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you need to be unattached to how it looks.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so often we are so specific. It's like that old it's a metaphor. It's just like an old like parable almost. Like there's a flood that comes and the guy to avoid the flood climbs onto the roof and prays to God to come save him. And a boat comes by and like, come on, get in. He's like, no, 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 God's gonna save me. And then a helicopter comes and like drops down the ladder. He's like, God's gonna save me. And he's like, then the house floods and he dies. And he gets to heaven. And he's like, God, why didn't you save me? He's like, I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. What did you want? And sometimes we're so attached to this is how it has to look.
Yeah.
Like he has one of our funny stories is that you wanted somebody who was at least 5'11" because your ex was 5'11". You didn't want to go backwards. And I'm only 5'10" and 3/4. And so it's like, are you so attached to the way that it looks in your head that you actually miss the gift that comes? Maybe it's not in the package that you foresaw,
Mhm.
but can you be specific in what you want to feel, but unattached to how it looks?
Yeah. Good point. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's also why we're saying be specific around how you want to feel versus specific qualities or situations, right? But we want things because of how we think it's going to make us feel.
I saw something today. I don't know why I feel compelled to share it here, but I saw, well, I'm on Threads now.
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with Threads. For those of you who know me at all, and if you don't know me, I'm not that great on social media. And recently they told me that I'm a professional content creator now, which was news to me. And they asked me to sign up for Threads. And so I'm on Threads and I'm trying to figure out, like, it seems like a ghost town in there. But there's some stuff that happens. And for some reason, a thread got put onto my feed or whatever you call this thing. And it shows a man. He's next to a wheelchair and he's sitting on it. He's like struggling. And there's a woman at the table next to him. And then you realize that he had climbed down from the wheelchair and he's paralyzed from looks like the waist down. But he like moving his feet around and knees around, and he kind of gets one knee under him, and she's sitting in the booth trying to figure out what is he doing. And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out an engagement ring, and he asks her to marry him.
Mm.
And here's this paralyzed man, like basically doing his best to kneel to get down on one knee. And when he proposed to her, like you could tell, like she was so excited.
Mm.
Like the package sometimes isn't what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But you could tell from the interaction that they had, like there was real love there.
Mm.
There was like commitment, conviction, and dedication. And she felt loved and protected and seen by this man and was happy to say yes to him when he asked her to marry him. And I guess it's surprising to me still, even though I teach this stuff and talk about this stuff. Like we all think that we want, or we all think that we know what the package is that we're looking for. But you might be surprised who can reach you, who can touch you, who was put on this earth to love you specifically if you let them in.
Mm. I love that you get so touched. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm sorry.
I know you are. Definitely are. Okay. So yeah, number one is being specific, but also being unattached. Because how often do we miss opportunities because we think it needs to be a certain way? So love that. So number two, one of the, I guess the second mistake that I see is we're writing our intentions as if it's a to-do list. So it's like bam, 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 bam. I'm listing out bullet points. I'm listing out these are the things that I want. But it's
Very logical.
yeah. But rather than writing it from that space, can we write it as a declaration, as a love letter, so that it's actually coming not from our head only, but from our heart?
Can we feel it? Can we write it with the meaning, with the emotion attached?
Yeah. So along with the feelings from number one, right? So actually feeling it when we read it, when we are looking at it, writing it, working on it, because it's these aren't just words. Like words have power, words have frequency, words have vibration, it's got energy behind it. And so the more that we can feed our emotions and our energy into it, right, the more powerful it becomes.
I'll just say on that, because you pointed out that you love that I was emotionally moved when I was telling that story. When you read this to me 2 weeks ago, we were in your office and I was sitting on the little bench, and you got about a sentence and a half into it, and you got emotionally moved
Yeah.
because it was like everything that you put into that, you wanted it so bad. And then when you realize, like, oh my God, I
He's what
have
we have.
this. Like, so my point in saying that is while you're writing it, imagine yourself actually in it. Like, really imagine how good would it feel if you had whatever it is that you're putting on your list. And I say list, even though I don't mean list, your love story. You're writing that love story. What would it feel like if you actually had that?
Yeah. So, going back to the example of what I wrote, right? I wrote some of those like we inspire each other to be our best selves, and it feels I wrote I feel not only loved but supported and inspired and amplified. Like all of these words mean a ton to me, and the fact that like when I can read it, it's like wow. Like when I look at you, we actually went to a networking event today, and uh, we have to stand up and share who we are, what we do, and all those things. And I just sat there like watching you and feeling inspired by the way that you can share your passion so naturally. It's not a skill that I'm stepping into it,
You,
but it doesn't feel
you did.
natural for me, right? But like it's something that when I look at you and watch you share your magic with the room, it is very inspirational. And so part of what I wrote was like, I want somebody who inspires me that I can learn from and vice versa. And so each of these words that I chose for my intention was very intentional. And each of them mean a ton to me because when I like the energy behind those words is really powerful and strong, if that makes sense.
Something, there's something that was said to me at my son's wedding that has stuck with me, and it's adjacent to something that I have always liked. So I'll share this. This is something that maybe some of you listening can find your own way to say this and set it as one of your intentions. But the aunt of my daughter in law, we were having a side conversation, and she said, I think they both married up. And I love that
Mm.
because I like, I think that some of us have this idea of like, I want to be, I want to be such a partner in the relationship that like she's the lucky one. But that sets yourself up for you being with somebody that's less than you. And I want to inspire you to both be, to both individually think I'm the lucky one, because I think we both feel that way about each other.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing to be in a relationship where you don't just feel like you're the lucky one because they're so far above you, But if you're both the lucky ones in the relationship, that's an incredibly great place to be. When you both lay down your lives for each other, where you both support each other, where you both are each other's biggest cheerleaders, that's so cool. It's so fun. And like, I call that the upward spiral. When she grows, I want to grow. When I grow, she wants to grow. When I heal, she wants to heal. When she heals, I know I need to heal to move up to her level again. And like, if you can create that, then you can have that lifelong epic love story. It's so cool for both of you to marry up.
Oh, that I don't think I heard that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that whole conversation. So love it.
it was an aside. She and I don't even remember what her name was, but
Yeah.
we just were. I think it was the rehearsal dinner. Actually, it
Mm,
was the night before.
yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Okay. So that's the second piece is writing your intention out with your heart. Really tapping into how does that feel? What does it feel like? Not just from like an intellectual exercise, but really tapping into your heart and making this intention that when you read it, it gets you lit up, gets you excited because you know that's like wholeheartedly this is what you want.
Yeah, if you wrote a list and it doesn't like move you, then your list is shallow. And I don't mean that like to offend you, but like if you're not moved by that list, then it's not a love story. It's just so it might as well be a grocery list.
Yeah.
Like there it is. It's on paper, but like it should actually excite you when you think about this guy's going to come into my life, and then we're going to build this,
Hmm.
and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there might be a part of you that's like, yeah, that would be amazing. And I don't know if that's possible, if
Yeah,
he's even
exist.
out there. Right. And that's actually number three is what I want to share with you is that the third mistake that I see is maybe you haven't released that part of you that actually believe it's possible
Or they deserve it.
or that you deserve it
There's
or
stuff.
that is actually out there. Like there's a conflicting belief, right? There's a desire that you want, but then there's a conflicting.
Let's forgive me.
Yeah,
I'm
go for
kind
it.
of interrupting, but I think I'm going to kind of short circuit that to the end.
Yeah.
On that podcast today, we talked about like checking in with your body. So some of you know the power of affirmations, and I'm going to pop the bubble on the power of affirmations for just a second because affirmations have been proven to be effective scientifically if they align with your belief system. And the problem is that sometimes we're writing affirmations. For example, like I'm going to have a lot of money. Saying that, but knowing you don't have a lot of money is problematic. There's too much tension between the two, and it can actually trigger a reverse result where you're struggling so much to try and get it, but inside of you, you know, like this isn't true. Like this is, and your unconscious mind will actually fight to prove that it's right. It wants to be right because it thinks when it's right, it's going to protect you. And so if you have a belief system, a fear, something that says you don't deserve it, you're unlovable, you're unworthy, that guy doesn't even exist, I don't know where, like, I don't even know how it could be possible. When you're saying these things, when you're writing these things out, check in with your body. Does this feel like it's within reach? Does it feel like this is possible? Is is there some sort of vibration that's happening, sensation inside of you that says like this just isn't in alignment? Like I want it to be true with my head, but something inside of me says it's not possible. Something inside says I don't deserve it. It's so important to check in with your body because it will tell you whether or not you're aligned.
Yeah, and sometimes you can even hear
Mm,
the voice in your head
yeah.
say, as you're writing or saying the affirmation, it's like, no, you can't, right? No, you're not.
Mhm.
You're not allowed. You're not worthy. So that could be a sign as well. I love that you mentioned tuning into your body of like, oh, there's a sensation coming up as I'm saying these things that is not in alignment. But there could also be a voice that
Yeah.
pops up for you. So that could be another sign.
And I think if you check with the sensation
Mhm.
and ask like why it's there, you'll find that voice is the thing that answers.
Yeah. Yeah. So an example is if you're trying to drive and you're pressing on the gas pedal like full speed while you're also pressing on the
Great.
brake, right? You're not going to go anywhere.
Also, don't shift into reverse.
Yeah, all of those things are not going to support you in going and creating what you want, right? And that's essentially what you're doing when you're declaring that this is what I want, and at the same time you've got some beliefs that are in conflict with what you actually want. So that's one piece. I don't know if you want to go into
I was just
away
gonna say,
from or
yeah, I think we should talk about because we're gonna just briefly talk kind of our language around this stuff, and it's not ours that we created, but it's not common, at least in the US, for people to talk this way. But when I began understanding this, it really helped me listen to my own voice and my own thoughts and help me align things much, much more easily. And so we use the language that's called energetically toward or energetically away from. So we just call it toward energy or away from energy. And it's important when you're writing your goals that you're aiming and going toward something, not that you're running away from something. Okay. My favorite analogy for this is the horror film. And it doesn't matter if you've ever seen horror films, you can imagine this if you've never even seen one. But every horror film, there's some sort of bad guy, monster, villain, alien, something that's trying to get somebody, right? In almost every one of those movies, if the person who's like the protagonist, let's just say it's the young damsel in distress, if she just focused on the neighbor's house and ran there as fast as she could, in almost every movie, the movie would be over and it would be boring. The police would be called and it'd be like done. But instead of looking toward her future where salvation is, she is looking over her shoulder, worried about how close he is, trying to figure out if he's gaining on her. And then she trips over a rake or a tree branch or something like that. And then he gets her. Because instead of looking toward what she wanted, she was running away from what she was afraid of. And when we talk to our clients, they're oftentimes as they're making this list, as they're building their love story, they're not focused on what they want. They're focused on making sure they're never in a toxic relationship again, that they're never with a narcissist, that they're, you know, you name it. But the away from energy is going to cause them to actually trip over that thing and get caught by that thing again. And that away from energy is such a trap. And it's almost always attached to what we call baggage, which is just a memory that still has energy or emotion attached to it. And until you can release that energy and that emotion, that away from energy is probably going to trip you up.
yeah, exactly. I love that analogy. That visual is really clear. Like, oh, wait, are we running towards what we want, or are we actually trying to run away from what we don't want? So good. All right. Should we open up for questions?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Okay. This is the first of this type of call. So we were setting aside half an hour. And if you know us, you know that we always have more to say. We always go over. And we also want to open it up for questions. So um, yeah, if you have questions around what we shared, if anything's coming up for you, any ahas or
Yeah, so
yeah,
come off mute or
you
type it
want to
in the chat,
share.
whatever's more comfortable for you. And again, I know that some people can't be on camera, but we'd love to have you be on camera and get to know you. So encourage you to do that again. Get comfortable being seen, especially if you want a guy to notice you. It's really important that you make that shift. That's one thing that we've helped a lot of women with is that sometimes there's that paradox, that battle within of like, well, I want to be noticed, but also I'm afraid of being seen. This is an opportunity. It's a safe space to kind of put your face out there,
Yeah.
get comfortable being seen, get called on, and know it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
We're pretty gentle. Okay, Susie says, I love what you've said about going toward what you want and feel how you want to feel. Yeah, absolutely, Susie. Thanks for sharing.
I'm not showing my face today because it's kind of messed up. So another time, I'm not afraid to show it, but not today.
Okay.
Believe me, you don't want to see it.
Well, we look forward to being able to see you.
Absolutely. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that, Susie.
I have a question. Is this something that you mentioned? Oh, Someone already had the question. It was just when you talked about the magnet. It's not really in this content today's Zoom, but still in the context of your like the way you're being successful in your relationship. Um, what are the concrete steps of making that like magnet happen? Like, I kind of understand the theory behind it a little bit, but I know you mentioned about Barbie's not being like the feminine. So what are things that like, and I know Maya, you talked also about kind of like hang up your male part,
Yeah. Sounds like
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that the relationship doesn't always have to be like female and male, but for the polarity to happen, like what are actionable steps in a way that you kind of lean into like I'm understanding the intention part and like, not going into the negative, dialing up your vision that's going to be strong. But how do you kind of make that magnet happen?
Sure. It's a great question. And it's might be more than we can fully discuss today, but man, just maybe we can make this our topic for next week. But I'll give it a little bit of a shot to help. So most of the time that we're talking about the magnetism, we are usually talking about it in terms of the masculine and the feminine energies. And when you understand the masculine energy and the feminine energy and their purpose, their intent, their way of expressing, uh, you recognize that it's very, very difficult for a masculine energy to attract a masculine energy, and it's easier for a feminine energy to attract a feminine energy, but they usually repel later on. What I mean by that is feminine energy can sit and have like great conversations and just be in each other's presence and just imagine girl talk, right? Like you're sitting at brunch and you just talk and talk and talk, and it's great, but nothing ever gets done. And so eventually one of you will snap and be like, we have to do something. The bills are not getting paid. Like the house is not getting cleaned. So there can be connection. It's just usually short term and it usually breaks because at some point something needs to get done.
Yeah.
The masculine is all about doing. And so if you're just doing, and there's never the slowdown and the connection, then that's a problem too. And so what essentially happens is that most of the time, and this isn't all the time, so bear with me, and we go deeper on this in some of our other teachings, but most of the time, the male in the relationship probably will be masculine dominant. That doesn't mean that he never goes into his feminine, because he does and he will. And most of the time, the female will be feminine dominant, but it doesn't mean she won't be in her masculine, because oftentimes she will. And many times she is. And so this is where problems can usually happen. And what we see most of the time, most of our clients, the woman has been trained to be in her masculine most of the time, which is a super powerful and empowering place for her to be. It's where she gets stuff done. It's where she feels like Wonder Woman. It's where she's kicking butt in her career. She started a business. Maybe she's the single mom and she does everything. It's a very empowering place. And typically, a woman that stays in her masculine for too long will experience burnout, frustration, anger, sometimes rage, resentment. And what she doesn't know is that when she is in the masculine so much, almost by definition, if she's in a relationship, he will flip to the feminine so they can actually stay together. Because two masculines will just butt heads, fight, argue, and try to decide who's going to be the dominant force. This is all happening unconscious. This isn't something that we're thinking about. Oh, I want to be It's just, oh, you're going to lead this? Okay, I will follow. And in our relationship, this is kind of funny, and I'm glad you asked this. She grew up in a home where she was taught to be in her masculine most of the time. I grew up in a home with a very masculine father, but a mother who showed me how to be in touch with my feminine. And I really enjoy being in my feminine.
And what that looked like for me to be in my masculine was it was all about achievement, getting good
Doing.
grades, right? Doing. What can I do around the house to help out, right? It was all about you do things in order to get love or feel loved or feel, get not even compliments. We didn't really get compliments,
But just
but it was,
recognition,
yeah,
acknowledgement,
empathizing,
like
doing.
praise. Yep.
Yeah, versus in your family and your upbringing, you are encouraged to be, right, to be in touch with that side of you.
Yeah, be in connection with the family. Like we played games almost like not necessarily every night, but every weekend we would play games, and there would just be connection and sharing of feelings and artwork and like different things that allowed me to find value in just who I was, not necessarily in what I did. The danger when we get in a relationship is that it's easy for her to fall back into doing, me to fall
Leading.
back into how can I support you? I want to be here. Like, tell me what I need to do. And then what will happen is that at some point she's had enough of that because it's not natural for her, even though she's learned it and good at it, to where she's like, I want you to make a decision. Can you just can you lead something? And I'm like, I've been attentive and like trying to support you. And we know this about ourselves and we can still fall into it. Most people don't know it about themselves. They fall into it regularly. She gets super frustrated. He kind of throws up his hands because every time he tries to lead, she takes the reins back and is like, no, you're not doing it right. I don't know. And then they just break apart because they don't know how to flip that script.
Mhm.
To get back to that's a very, very summarized, stereotyped version of what happens. But to get back to the answer to your question, if you're a woman who finds herself in that doing energy, the real key, I would say, is to live in a reciprocal way. Okay. What that means is it doesn't mean that you don't do. It means that you do as a reciprocation for what is being done for you. It also means that you get to show honor and respect to how your partner is doing whatever he's doing. And sometimes that's going to drive you nuts because he folds a towel, not good enough for you. Or he loads the dishwasher, not good enough for you. But if you can let him do that and appreciate the fact that he is doing it, then he'll do more of it and he'll get better.
Oh yeah. There, you made a comparison to I won't bring it up because but I think the praise, the positive reinforcement. I think that's what
It's huge.
way back. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you
you're
very
welcome. Women need love. Men need respect. Respect looks like appreciation. If a woman can just regularly express, and sometimes it's through words, sometimes it's through physical touch, sometimes it's through a look. But if she can look at her man and appreciate her man in words and deeds, he will continue to grow and get better most of the time. Now, there are some exceptions, sociopaths, autism, uh, what is it? Asperger's, those types of things where they don't feed on the same social cues. But most men, if you're giving them that kind of attention and recognition, they want that. That's what because that is all about doing. And doing is their natural energy. And often, like he may be physically exhausted, but he'll almost never burn out if he's doing, and you're appreciating. Where a woman will often do. And even if she's appreciated, she'll still burn out because it's not her native energy. She's learned how to operate in it, but it's not something that is actually her gift.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Looks like Stacy said she spent many years in her masculine energy, self-employed, burnt out too. She doesn't want to be in her masculine energy anymore and haven't wanted that for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a common experience. So
Most of our clients are right there with you, Stacy. Like they know that they want to shift out of it and they don't know how to shift out of it because they've been so trained in it. It's such a habit, such a pattern, and they're actually really good at it. That's the problem. It's not like they're terrible at being in their masculine. Right. It's that they're really good at it They get most of their rewards, most of their recognition, most of their earnings from being in it. So it's like, how do I give up this thing that has done so much for me? And we're not saying you have to give it up. We are saying that bringing harmony into your life is the key. When you can be in your masculine and then easily shift back into your feminine, your whole life gets a whole new balance and a new harmony that's pleasant to be around and invites that partner in because there's space for him. But if you're in your masculine almost all the time, there's no place for his energy to come in because that polarity, it's like what Maria was talking. We show magnets sometimes, and you've all played with magnets and you have it backwards and you can't push them together.
Yeah.
That's because the polarity is off. All you got to do is flip it around and they snap together. The two masculines will never go together. You can smash them together, but they're going to force apart just like fighting would do.
I was even a deputy sheriff in the 70s.
Okay.
I did it from a very feminine place, but still.
You're still doing it. So it's even as feminine as you could make it, it's still a doing action. So it's still going to be pretty masculine.
Well, in that era, it was a very heavily masculine occupation.
That,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I was one of only 10.
Wow.
Here's what I'll say.
The question I had above was about toward and away. I don't know if you got a chance to read it.
We'll read it right now.
Yeah, let's do that. Good.
Okay, so the question was, we don't want to duplicate or allow in some things from our past. How can we convert that into toward energy? So for example, my father drank too much and I don't drink at all. I would prefer to be with a man that either doesn't drink or only drinks occasionally. How do I make that into toward energy rather than away from my past bad experiences?
Great question.
Yeah, good question.
Can I go
Thank
first?
you.
Go for it.
So I would say there's two ways to approach this kind of thing. The first one is kind of the tried and true Western philosophy of just focus and do, and eventually you'll try and basically work it out. That can be very frustrating. And it can also, unfortunately, while you're working it out, have the unintended consequence of you're still looking back over your shoulder and it's still going to get you. Because, while you're thinking about that and while you're focusing on it, you're still focusing on the thing.
Backwards.
And so creating something else, a new vision of what you actually want and focusing on the vision of what you want is the way to do that. So sometimes that's through story, right? Like you get to paint a picture of how that relationship would look and what it would feel like. That's kind of the first way. And it takes a little longer doing it that way. The second way is through like what we call a release of baggage. And when you release the baggage, now it doesn't even matter anymore. Let me use this as an example. After my second divorce, I did what was called a breakthrough session. That's part of the work that we do. It was what we were trained in before we got into this. Then we realized how well it worked. And we said, we need to help people learn this stuff so that they can experience this type of quick breakthrough. During that process, we did what was called a values elicitation. That's where you list out your values in a certain area of life and you rank order them. Like, this is the most important thing to me. So mine was on relationships. So this is the most important thing to me, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? All the way down, list out all those things. And then you define what each of those things mean. For me, I think second or third highest value was fidelity. Okay. Fidelity means I don't want somebody to cheat on me, right? That seems important in a relationship. After I did the breakthrough session, we do a second values elicitation and we recheck to see what the values are now. And frequently, when you do a breakthrough session and you release that baggage, some of those old things that were values are just gone. And for me, fidelity was one of them. And it was like, wait, how can that be gone? Because like, it's still an important element of a relationship. What I learned is that fidelity is like the foundation of a relationship. It's not something that I need to make sure is there. It's a given if you're in a relationship. If there's no fidelity, there's no relationship. Now I know that. That's what it means to me now. I don't need to be going down my values list when I'm dating her or dating at that time, dating anybody, going like, are you going to be faithful? Are you going to be faithful? Because it's one of my values. Are you going to be faithful? Are you going to, can you see how if I'm focused on that faithfulness, that fidelity, I'm really focused on checking to make sure you're not going to be not faithful. So as long as I'm focused on that fidelity, I'm actually still looking backward, making sure that I don't get cheated on. When you can do a breakthrough session that just takes like a couple hours, that can just be gone. And then you aren't even concerned about it. And you know, oh, the right fit for me, the right guy, he's either not going to drink or he's barely going to drink. Either way, it's not going to be a big deal. But I'm not constantly looking like, how many drinks are you going to have? This is our first date. Oh, he ordered a drink. Oh no, I need to eat. Can you see how the energy around that, because there's a fear around it, now you're on guard. You're creating a different energy. Even if he's the right type of guy for you, you start asking questions or give off that energy. He's like, it's just something wasn't right. I just didn't feel comfortable around her. And so a great guy can leave you because you're still hung up on this thing from the past that you're bringing into the now, trying to guard and protect yourself, and you actually push people away. So
For me, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a fear. It's just something I'm not going to accept going forward.
Completely understand.
You know,
that means that you're still self-protecting a little bit because you're still like the fact that you're bringing it up as one of these things, it's still something that you're concerned about protecting yourself from. That's telling us that there's something back there that you don't want to go through again. And you're now bringing it into the future. And I'm not saying,
I use that as an example, you know, and my ex-husband, the cop, you know, he wasn't faithful. And frankly, I don't give a shit. You know, he wound up marrying my best friend. Don't care. You know, go be happy.
Right. Yeah. So I hope that helps. But basically, checking in with your body, like, is there something I'm still protecting, something that I don't want to experience again? That's usually going to be a sign that there's some sort of away from energy, and away from energy is they're the thing that you're going to trip over and end up either attracting what you're trying to run away from or just pushing away everything good, because it's almost like you're what is it when you go to get your driver's license? You're like the examiner with the clipboard of like, I'm on a date with you, but like I'm judging you. Like I've got to know that you're going to behave in this way. And just having that kind of energy where you're kind of just ready to check them off the list is not a fun energy to be around. You don't want to go on a date that feels like you're being examined, right? You want to actually go connect to somebody person to person. So releasing that stuff allows you to be more present and actually create a relationship and trust yourself and go, oh, if he's not the right fit, then I'll let him go. If he does those things, I'll let him go. I don't need to be like on guard against it. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah. And I'll add too, I mean, just a quick example from my life is when I looked at my parents and seeing how they argued all the time. I remember I probably at a very young age decided for myself that I did not want to be in a relationship or a marriage where we would argue so much, right? Every day they would argue. And I actually was one of those kids that wanted my parents to get divorced because
Me too.
I felt like it would have been healthier than to see someone arguing every single day, right? And so,
Me too.
exactly. You understand, Stacey.
Like, would you please just get a divorce?
Yeah, I know.
My father dropped dead at 53. And in the big picture of things, that was my mother's socially acceptable divorce. I don't think she dated for the rest of her life, and she was fine.
Yeah. So,
You know?
yeah. And so it's not easy for kids to see that and grow up with that, right? And I think for me, how that turned out in my own relationship was then I decided, well, then I'm not, if we're not going to fight, I'm not going to bring anything up that would rock the boat, or, I'm not going to share my opinions because that would lead to fighting. But that's also not healthy. But I didn't know that at the time. Right. And so our past experiences or childhood experiences can direct our beliefs and guide them. And so at a subconscious level, I decided that it's safer, it's better to actually keep my mouth shut and not, bring up opinions or share things because I didn't want it to lead to arguments. Now, what that created then is a not so healthy relationship, which then after that, it was like, oh, I don't want to have a partner where I can't share things. Well, that's an away from energy. So until I was able to look at what was driving that desire, right, of not wanting to fight and work through that, that's when I'm able to now express myself. We can talk about, as I mentioned, anything and everything and have that safety in the relationship. So, Stacey, going back to your question, it's for me, it's the working at the subconscious level and shifting those beliefs, which is what you're talking about, so that you're not consciously trying to make the change or create what you're wanting, but at a subconscious level, the beliefs that were there that are creating these fears and move away from energy are actually gone, and you don't have to consciously deal with that anymore. So that's something that, as you were talking, I think would it be helpful if you got some, each of you guys got some time to spend with us to look at what might be going on underneath. I didn't share this with you, but but I think it might be helpful to, walk you through and support you in identifying what might be at that subconscious level that is keeping love away, that is keeping you from having a healthy relationship where you're not looking into your past, looking at away from energy.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump on calls with anybody who wants to, because one of the things that I learned is that we all went through something growing up. Some of us had great lives, but we still, the worst thing that happened to us is the worst thing that happened to us. And our little brains at whatever age, could be 1, 2, 3, could be 13, could be 17, whatever happened, developed ways to cope with whatever we were going through. And oftentimes we have kept that same coping skill, even though we're 30, 40 years older than that now, and we've outgrown it, but we never updated it. So some of us are still coping in the same way by self-protecting and doing different things that are no longer serving us. In fact, they're now counterproductive. It's kind of like you're riding a bicycle and you have the training wheel, you put training wheels on so you don't fall over. But now you're an adult. You're in your 40s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s, you're in your 70s, and you're still riding with training wheels on so you don't fall over. You don't need those anymore, but you don't know that you don't need them anymore because they've always been there and they make you feel safe, but they're actually keeping you from riding full speed. You can't actually have any fun on your bike because you're on training wheels. You can't take a corner fast. You don't even know what it's like to be free because you've got these training wheels guarding and protecting you. I'd love to have a conversation about seeing if we can figure out what is it that you're holding on to that you think is protecting you, but it's actually keeping you slowed down and keeping you from really enjoying the fullness of life.
Yeah.
I've been single for 30 years and self-employed and been in that masculine energy for that long.
Yeah.
And that's why the last 3 years I pretty much haven't worked, and I've been working on just staying in my feminine energy.
Nice.
And through this conversation, I'm getting a picture of, because I've had little glimpses of, yeah, I like that in somebody else's relationship. I've got friends that are married 45, 49, 50 something years, right? And then friendships where I can just laugh and joke around and be myself. And it's like those kind of little experiences, little vignettes, if you will. It's like, yeah, that I want that. So I can see where my prior list that had some away energy, revamping it to this, like, I just want to be able to hang out with my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
that. I'd love to get to know you better, Stacey. So if you'd like, it's a free call. We'll just jump on, see if we can help you find where some of those energies are that might be still pushing somebody away. Because it does frequently just take a few little shifts, and then that magnet.
It's time. It's past time for me to not be single anymore. Most people think I'm, 55 or 62 or whatever. I'm 71 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
I look a lot younger, but I'm 71. It's like, that's enough single.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Love that.
Love it. Love to talk to you.
Yeah, book a call with us. We'd love to talk with you.
How do I do that?
We'll put a link in the chat. So just click the link and it'll take you to our calendar and you can choose. I think that link has either me or you on the left, or is it both?
Yeah, it's just whoever's available.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just
So
pick
just
a
choose a
time,
time
that
and
works.
it'll get on one of our calendars. So
Amazing. Awesome.
any other
Robert.
questions? I want to take you to dinner. So let's see. Madeline said, thank you for the work you do in the world. Gotta go. Thanks, Madeline. She may be gone already, but
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place to stop for tonight. And let's see if we
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Well, maybe we'll dive into some of the strengths of healthy masculine and healthy feminine next time.
Mhm.
And we can talk about some of the unhealthy strengths, what we call hypo and hyper masculinity and femininity next time. And we'll go deeper on that stuff.
That was wonderful today, you guys. You
Thanks.
helped me remember what I want, which is something, you know, the combination of what you do together also is a wonderful kind of template. And when you talk, you know, the idea of having somebody that you can say anything to and that responds and that you have, it's like so much fun. You know, that, I mean, no matter what it is,
Yes.
even if it's bad, even if it's quote bad, it's fun to work through it. So you're reminding me how valuable that is.
Thank you so much, Susie.
I love it.
Appreciate you sharing and joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing your pretty face on Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe not quite done, but soon.
Good.
Good.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
The end of the Epic Love Lounge for tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.